There's many shows and cartoons in the world, but today we're going to talk about the greatest cartoons to ever exist in storytelling, animation, philosophy, and basically everything you could think about that makes a show amazing. And starting off, we got...
This show has to be anything but regular. The first episode is about them stealing a magical piano from a wizard who was peeing in a bush, then sending their co-worker to the moon.
The show also includes
a giant pie that eats people, bootleg anime references, Evangelion, and a lot of other crazy things. This show can really appeal to any demographic, no matter the age. But the show was trying to target the attention of teens and young adults, with toxic relationships, low-paying jobs, jealousy issues, and a lot of maturing. We start off with the two main characters acting like kids, but towards the end of the show, they have motives and goals that they're trying to achieve. Well, one of the characters. I used to love Mordecai as a kid, but now that I'm older, you really see how much of a bad friend and overall person he truly is throughout the show. I'm not saying that the other characters are perfect, or that Mordecai is a god-awful character. I'm trying to say that he is one of the characters that makes the show seem more real. In some ways, not all. His relationships fail because of timing, and because Mordecai is indecisive, which majority of people would relate to. He likes Margaret for most of the show until she finally realizes that she likes him back. The bad part about it is that she has a career and that she has to move away. He then meets a girl that he likes and they start dating for a bit until his ex moves back into town. For some odd reason, he thinks the best way to tell everyone that he still has feelings for Margaret is at Muscle Man's wedding? That's the more unrelatable part of the character. There is way more context behind this, so if you really want to know why he did this, I really recommend that you watch the show. This character has a lot of ups and downs, but that's what makes him feel more human. But he's a blue jay, if that makes any sense. Oh, and the girl that he was dating is a cloud and her name is CJ. Rigby isn't the best character at the beginning, but his development is so meaningful and impactful throughout the show. Every bad decision he makes involves other characters and he learns and grows from it. Rigby goes from being a selfish and horrible friend, getting Mordecai and himself into a lot of trouble by only caring about the things that he wants to do.
Of you to clean it up now!
Both of us? But Rigby's the one who's the slob.
Well, Mordecai's even worse. Look at all his junk in the corner.
The difference between Mordecai and Rigby is that Mordecai doesn't change throughout the show, which isn't a bad thing. We see Rigby mess up and grow from his mistakes and actually try to make something of himself. We recognize that he has problems with his family. Rigby's dad sees him as a failure and that his younger brother Dawn is a perfect son. And it's not just his dad. Benson asks Mordecai to help Rigby change a light bulb, but Rigby says that he can do it all by himself. Then Mordecai says that he is the opposite of useful, and everyone just starts laughing and agrees. This causes Rigby to quit his job and find another to prove that he isn't useless. Rigby also goes back to school to prove to his new girlfriend and everyone else that he isn't a mistake. Eileen had a positive impact on Rigby's character. Rigby easily had the most character growth in regular show.
I hate you!
You better not be messing up my side of the room.
Failure's not an option, dude. If Eileen wants someone brilliant, she's gonna get someone brilliant.
The way that regular show touches upon the adult side of realism is through Benson. This guy goes through a lot during the show. He has trauma from his past, which makes him become addicted to wings. Wings is the series version of alcohol, but they couldn't use alcohol for obvious reasons. So Benson is a wingaholic, I guess? Anyway, Benson, like Mordecai, has been in multiple relationships that have failed miserably. Benson has had enough experience with relationships that he gives great advice to Mordecai, and Mordecai just brushes it off like it's nothing. Jesus. Looking back at writing this, there is a lot of Mordecai slander in this video. Benson has a lot of real-world adult problems, and the way that regular show expresses the situations is just perfect. In hindsight, Benson is a drunk, because he's always at a battle with himself. When all of his girlfriends leave him, his way of coping was to get drunk. It's safe to say that Benson has a problem with substances. Benson has a very, very, very sad life. He supervises the park. He has to deal with two employees that, if they're not slacking, they're causing life or death problems to their workplace. And this is on a daily basis. This isn't once or twice. This happens every single day. They give him little to no respect. Actually, Benson seems to have no form of respect. His boss doesn't even know his real name. It isn't until Benson saves his life to where Mr. Merlin refers to Benson as Benson. It makes the audience feel bad for him because he is constantly being disrespected by Mordecai and Rigby. Like Rigby, his father sees him as a mistake, but unlike Rigby, he never gets to prove his father wrong. I think one of the reasons that his relationships fail is because he's too eager for love. Like in the episode where we find out that Thomas is a spy, there's a girl named Natalie that Benson falls for. She ends up being a spy that literally handcuffed him, threw him in a locker, and Benson is just completely blinded by this. We didn't really notice these things as kids because we weren't mature enough and hadn't witnessed anything in our lives that was portrayed in the show. There is just way too much stuff to talk about when it comes to regular show. If you haven't watched it, I really recommend that you do. This is personally my favorite cartoon of all time. Next up, we got
This adaptation of Spider-Man is probably one of the best adaptations of its character. It also doesn't make us watch Uncle Ben die for like a third time. This show has great foreshadowing. Examples are the Vulture and Doc Ock. If you watch episode by episode, which I'm sure everyone does that for a show that actually has a story. Like they're normal people, and after watching a couple episodes, they're evil. And that's honestly pretty cool, instead of them just, showing up out of nowhere and be like, I hate you, Spider-Man. And the show has a lot of characters. But the thing that the show does differently from other shows is they make me care about most of them, which a lot of shows don't really do. I know I keep using Naruto, but trust me, I love Naruto. I have an Itachi robe in my room. Alright, just using it as an example. The Spectacular Spider-Man revolves around the early years of Peter and how he grows and matures through high school, as well as, developing a relationship with the side characters we're introduced to, and they are actually worth caring for. Take this girl as an example. Her name is Liz, and at first, she's like this bratty, cheerleader girl, like, boo, you suck. But later, she becomes a love interest for Peter, and she ends up dating Peter. And like, woohoo, yeah, let's go, yeah. But then Peter breaks up with her, and it low-key made me feel bad for her, even though I knew it wasn't gonna last long because Peter likes Gwen. But like, damn, like Peter kind of did her dirty. He broke up with her at the lunch table, bro, no way. Now, we all know Peter's supposed to be relatable, right? But how can bro be relatable when all these girls are on him like this?
You can web me up anytime, Petey.
Like, come on, bro. In all seriousness, though, Peter himself is a good character, and he actually feels like a teenager and not just Spider-Man, if that kind of makes sense. Like, it feels like he's actually balancing his teenage life with Spider-Man life. And as the story progresses, we keep meeting characters that are actually important instead of like one episode things. Like these characters come into play later and whatnot, like Tombstone. I don't know about y'all, but when I saw this combo,
I just took down the Rhino. A pale guy in a suit doesn't...
I knew bro meant business. And Tombstone offers Peter a way, to make money, but it's like a pretty bad way to make money. And Peter obviously goes, no, that's not my morals. But when Peter got that black suit on him, he goes back to Tombstone and accepts his deal. Like, the show doesn't try and waste characters, which is amazing. And I also feel as like these villains or characters have better motives as well. Like, take Eddie Brock for an example, who instead of just hating Peter because he ruined his, reputation, Eddie Brock is instead Peter's childhood friend.
What's the matter, bro?
And they're like real close friends, actually. So how did Eddie become Venom? Well, it's because Peter's sense of responsibility towards being Spider-Man is letting everybody down. Like when something dangerous comes up, Peter leaves and, Spider-Man comes in and he saves the day. But they don't know he's Spider-Man. So, they're like, Peter, where'd you go, bro? So they just think Peter's just a big jerk. And Eddie had enough of bro shenanigans. And what really made bro like fully commit to just not liking Peter anymore is
shove off Brock permanently.
Like, geez, bro, chill out. But like, these characters feel more fleshed out, like actual humans you can relate to, especially Peter. Even though, I said before he was surrounded by women and whatnot, Peter just feels more average, to be honest, and that's low-key perfect. He lets his friends down, he has a curfew, and he has to call Aunt May to let her know that he's gonna be home late. He's fumbling his love life, he's, just teenager. It just feels more realistic in a way, and it just feels more relatable, you know what I mean? And this show also has one of, if not the best Spider-Man lines of all time. Like, Josh Keaton did an amazing job, bro. And every time I listen to this, bro, it sums up being Spider-Man. Like, okay, just listen.
I never asked to be Spider-Man. I never asked for these powers. I never knew it would mean a bashed up hand, a hard 9 p.m. curfew, no job, and friends who all think I'm scum. It was all just a twist of fate. Bad luck, a random bug bite.
Like, bro, this basically just sets it all up. His life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. This show emphasizes that his life isn't easy. And hey, if bro wanted all the glory,
I wouldn't wear a mask.
We could really go in depth about Spider-Man, but we don't want to make this video too long. We already spent too much time on Gravity Falls. So if you guys are enjoying the video, please hit a like, subscribe, and comment if you actually want like an hour-long analysis. But in conclusion, Peter's actually relatable, great characters that actually matter and grow. The details of the show is amazing. Like I mentioned, Peter's curfew, right?
My responsibility. I can't have you out till midnight. You're to be home by 10 o'clock. That's my bedtime.
But Aunt May...
If you're late, You call.
And so what does Peter do now?
Perfect.
Hello?
Hey, Aunt May.
Peter, it's almost 10.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm calling.
And also he webbed up these two strangers and says thank me later. And then like a couple more episodes, boom, the same guy proposed. Like goated show, and I wish the show actually had an ending, but it got canceled. So, but now let's move on to we can't use this audio, we got copyrighted, so yeah.
This one was really hard to choose because of his predecessor, Batman the Animated Series. We love both shows, but we picked this one because of how special this version of Batman truly is. This series shows the true pain of Bruce battling with his age as Gotham's protector. Batman is a symbol of fear for criminals and hope for people. Bruce made a suit for this issue, but he's just too old. When Terry took the mantle, he struggled at first because he's not Bruce. I love the hardships that came with this show. There were certain episodes that just stood out to me as a kid. Season 3, there was an episode called Out of the Past, where Talia al Ghul shows up as a younger self. She offers Bruce his youth back with no side effects, and Bruce thinks about the offer. We see Bruce fall slowly into a more depressed state because he can't save people like he used to. Terry, Talia, and Bruce all meet up in Lazarus Pit, and this is where the big plot twist comes into play. Talia gave Ra's her body so he wouldn't stay dead.
Even old age has not softened you as much as I had feared.
This episode is so meaningful because we get to see Bruce and Terry fight with each other in Bruce's younger state. We also get to see how hard it must be to see someone else do something that you used to do but can't do anymore. It really makes the audience feel sympathetic towards Bruce. It's just hard to see our Cape Crusader drop the mantle and give it to someone else after we see this version throughout the years. No hate to Terry, he is an amazing successor. One of the reasons that makes the show so special is the Batman suit itself. The suit can fly, turn invisible, super strength, and a lot more. This just goes to show how truly intelligent Bruce is. Just imagine you were a kid seeing the already broken character now have more to his arsenal. This suit is really strong, but it shows that even the world's greatest detective can escape old age. This show gives more insight on how Gotham changed over the years with its villains and its surroundings. I love how we see Bruce take over Alfred's spot as man in the chair for Terry. The chemistry between the two characters are just unmatched. Bruce must feel how Alfred felt when he was Batman. Alfred was like the father to Bruce, and now seeing how Terry's father was killed, I guess you could say Bruce is somewhat of a father figure to Terry. The series seamlessly blends classic Batman lore with futuristic elements, presenting a fresh and dynamic take on the iconic character. Through its rich storytelling and thought-provoking episodes, Batman Beyond leaves an indelible mark on the world of animation, cementing its status as a timeless classic. This will always be one of our favorite cartoons of all time. Up next, we got...
Whether it seems like it or not, Gravity Falls is about trust and love. Though the first episode is about not trusting anyone, Dipper decides to trust Mabel, and of course, as the viewers, we trust these characters as they grow on us. But all of this gets challenged when it seems that one of them isn't what they seem. Dipper and everyone that knows what Stan is doing obviously sees him as a threat. Sooner or later, we get to this huge climax where Stan tries to stop them, but of course fails to do so until he asks Mabel to trust him. And as much as Mabel loves and trusts Dipper, she refuses to believe that the man that she spent her summer with isn't her grunkle Stan, but rather a bad person. Therefore, we get this.
I trust you.
Like, this is peak. Like, peak. Come on now. And I think the best part about this all is Stan's goals have been foreshadowed in the show before, which I thought was pretty cool. If you don't know, there's an episode in Gravity Falls where Stan has his own wax figure, and it's him. It's identical to Stan. But you know who else is identical to Stan? This guy, Stanford. And that's why Stanley was crying when his wax figure died, because, you know, it basically reminded him of his twin brother. And that's why he was so emotional about it. He missed his dear brother so much that he'd sacrifice the life he has now just to bring him back. But now let's talk about one of my favorite characters in fiction, Bill Cipher. Bill's goals were basically pretty generic. He wants to spread chaos and weirdness all over the world and galaxy, or so we thought. With the release of the book, which we won't talk about today because it's about the show, Bill had a more complicated reason on doing what he wanted to do, but overall, pretty normal stuff, and he's not really evil. Just let me explain. Bill isn't the type of guy to just kick puppies and not wash his hands after using the bathroom because it's an evil thing to do, but rather he would give the puppy eternal happiness as long as they won't get in his way. When Weirdmageddon happens, Bro is on top of the world, his plan succeeded, and he burns the 3 books that were the center of the show's mystery, and also killed the creator of those books. And now Bill is ready to spread his chaos to the world. Okay, I guess not yet. So he unfreezes Ford because he's the only one who can cancel the barrier or know how to cancel it. Of course, Ford won't tell him and prepared himself, so Bill can't force it out of him. So Bill basically has a legitimate reason to keep Ford alive now. Well, what about everyone else? Does Bill care about them? No, but Ford does care about his family, correct? Oh no, now Bill has a target. So Bill doesn't care about anyone else but these four, as Bill plans to torture these three so Bill can get an answer out of Ford. Fast forward, and Bill has beaten the twins in literally 90% of the things that were shown in Gravity Falls. He then traps Ford and Stanley and then captures Dipper and Mabel, and now he's gonna torture them so he can get Ford to shake his hand. Perfect. There is no escape, bro. No escape. So in this situation, I mean, shoot, I'd be cocky too. But Bill's always been cocky though. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Bro's like a universal threat. And that actually leads to Bill's downfall. No bull, no power friendship. He simply got tricked because he was too confident. And also, this is literally the only universe where Dipper and Mabel make it out alive. So, I mean, Bill was an Avengers level threat. He was Thanos, bruh. Literally a perfect villain, able to do anything but fall short to his own ego, bro. The most powerful being in the galaxy loses because he's the most powerful being in the galaxy. So simple, yet so perfect.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
That's right, I'm Sokka. It's pronounced with an aka. Young ladies, I rocked ya.
No, don't pull. No. Ah!
One of the most iconic and flawless shows besides Breaking Bad is Avatar The Last Airbender. At times, I question how a kid show can be so peak because its incredible depth, philosophy, and storytelling, which also make it interesting for adults and teenagers. Lying to yourself to redemption and spitting on the face of the destiny that was given to you and making your own. Having really nothing special about you, becoming one of the core aspects of the show. Mercy and malice, yin and yang, fire and water, earth and air. The show has it all, dude. All the characters in the show develop in some way. Sokka's toxic masculinity, thinking men need to do everything, stops thinking like that when he gets his ass handed to by Suki. Aang turns into a more mature and serious as the war draws closer, and so on and so forth. Now, the show is about these characters being able to bend elements of the world, and every style of bending is unique to the movement of the bending and the mentality of the bending. Each bending style is tied to a different martial art, which is kind of cool. The bending styles also tie in with your emotions, or like I said before, your mentality. As we see, Zuko's fire is aggressive and dangerous. After Zuko loses that aggression as he joins the Avatar, his fire isn't as potent or powerful, but when finding a new purpose for his fire bending with the dragons, he's much calmer when he's bending, and we see that in the Azula fight, which is kind of cool, and he's way less aggressive, unlike every other firebending we see other than Iroh and Jon Jon. Look at how fluid Katara is fighting compared to Zuko's aggression. Or when Zuko and Aang were fighting, you can see the difference in their fighting styles, or I guess more of their bending styles. But the best part is that the martial art style doesn't apply to only one bending element. Instead, you can implement other styles of bending into your own style, like how Iroh does when he says he has studied all the bending styles and he learned how to redirect lightning from waterbenders. And in Zuko's final fight of the show, we can see him take all types of bending stances. Speaking of Zuko, he's easily the best written character in the show. He's always wanted his father's approval, he always wanted to be strong, and nothing came easy even though he was a prince. Even through Iroh's teaching, he made a choice that he'd later regret and look for forgiveness. I mean, honestly, that seems like a lot of people's lives in the real world. And through redemption, Zuko found his way and, dare I say, regained his honor.
The characters and their bending matter a lot in the show. The way they fight, the way they think, and even the environment or time of day can affect the fight. And the dynamics of some fights are so perfect. Take Ozai for an example, the big bad of the show, and he just seems evil. Well, obviously he's evil. He burnt his own helpless son just because he spoke out of turn. He's a monster. And the series doesn't even show his face for the first 2 seasons, making him seem more mysterious and menacing. In contrast to Aang's peaceful nature, and the fact that he doesn't want to kill him when everyone is telling him that he must kill Ozai, just makes the last fight seem so damn good. Even though Aang starts clapping Ozai when he's in the Avatar state. There is so much more to speak about, like the complexity of Zuko versus Azula, the world building, the 4 different nations, which we'll discuss on later videos if you guys really enjoy this video. Now, let's get into the philosophy of Avatar The Last Airbender. Iroh is probably the person you think of when talking about philosophy, and it's very accurate. There's this one quote that stuck with me, and it's hope is a gift you give yourself. In a world so bleak that the only thing you can do is hope, hoping that everything will turn out fine. Leaving the world behind will maybe bring you peace for a while, but it will end up hurting your world in the process. Pushing forward through the dark tunnel and finding yourself. You need them, and they need you, whether it's for the same purpose or a different one. Everyone needs that hand to reach for them, and not let go. It's an incredible story filled with so much philosophy, especially finding yourself trying to push away your problems won't help, so that's why you embrace and fix them, and in the end, you'll be in a better place than many others.